earlier mentioned. And in there, it defines our process. It defines the priority system that we follow here. So thank you, Chair Henio. That's my response.
Thank you for that, Chair Silverstein. With that, committee members, any further questions, comments regarding this legislation?
Chair, I'll give a question.
Delegate Elmer Begay, go ahead.
Chair, to Toledo, members of BNF, Roshanado to me yellow hair, though. But on the legislation, in the Dagosha not no as a hot nagido, Dagosha not in the no as a hot nagi, Dagosha not just no other hot nagido. I see the power the hot nagi. And just another street on the head and this street on the door. I think there's some responsibility to those one nation there yet. They're talking about school. Those schools and state fundings by the if they due to the impassable roads conditions, and we're talking about schools attendance. How much is there any state legislatures that have not done? You address these to them. One to that ahida. No other than no county though. How much are they addressing this issue you have with the school? I don't know. And then there's some fundings. There's FETs, pure excise funds. How much is being used to this project. I don't know Mr. Silversmith, I asked a question before too, though. You know, that how we're trying to this whole miles of unpaved roads of Nenigi to do the whole thing. This is how much we're lacking. Nenigi, you have 17 million already available. I don't know how long this 17 million was available for this project. But each year, see these prices goes up. I don't know how long. What's your plan on that $17 million? When what's going to start, or how you can? Are you? Is there any plan by phase again? So I get to the bottom now that the yellow hair. 2 months, but not the war. I don't know. It's another. I don't know how that. Like I said, you know that the way you responded back to me regarding the phase of these to do projects. Like I said, you know that 8 years ago there was $20 million that was available for N15 from Burnside to Greasewood on the start in that. So by phase, it's on that, and it hasn't even started yet. So how long is this project going to be like that again? If you get the whole amount of money given to you again? Hey, so what up on Sanchez? There's no plan to that. Oh,
Appreciate that question you get to Director Silverstein, as far as from Delegate Elmer Begay to the response.
Thank you, Honorable Delegate Chair Henio. Again, on behalf of the division, I'll respond to Honorable Delegate Begay's questions and comments. So in regards to his question, it was, yes, there's amount available. We have a phase one. Ultimately, going back to his question, ultimately we want to road improve, repave from Burnside, Arizona to Greasewood, Arizona. We have split that up into 3 phases. Phase one is funded according to our files here, it's funded for $16 million right now. And one of the questions that he has is, why haven't we progressed with that 16 million? What's the delay? What's happening? Why aren't we in construction? Well, there's a multiple facet of answers and replies to that reason. Well, is that each project, if it's federally funded, has to follow federal guidelines and regulations. And of course, the BIA follows under that umbrella. And this is a route owned by BIA. So right now, what is one of the delays is that there's archaeological findings that still have to be addressed. There's multiple, as you can imagine, for the first phase of about approximately 7 miles, anywhere you go, there's archaeological findings. Every time you come upon an archaeological site, there's a delicate process that requires this process for complete thoroughness, and we gotta abide by those processes that are in place. And there's multiple partners, entities that are involved in the Navajo Nation alone. There's probably at least 10 entities that are involved in every archaeological finding. There's a level of succession where we have to follow. On the Bureau of Indian Affairs side, is the same way. There's a level of succession that each project has to go through. So overall, each project is not at the discretion and advancement of Navajo Nation, of Navajo DOT only. Yes, it is true that $16 million for phase 1 for N15 from Burnside to Cornfields has been sitting there for a couple of years, but we're still moving on it, and we're delayed, and there's barriers that come before us in this process. We've been trying to work with the Federal Highway Administration to shorten this process through an abbreviated EA format, and we're making slow progress. But there's ultimately that's my response to one of his questions there. What is the delay there with N15? Now going back to the second portion of his question is about what do we plan to do with the existing $17 million that's already identified for 8066. Again, this money has been there for at least a couple of years, 2-3 years, and again we're going through that same. There's a series of progression of phases that we have to follow to get that project ready for construction at a point of construction, and we're working on those. Same with 8031, the previous legislation that we heard, 313-20. The same here. And we wish we could, if we had that money available, and that's been the approach by the previous 23rd Council. If the money is there, and if that road has been standing there for decades, generations, that's been our whole point to the federal government. Why do you subject us to going through these series of phases that we need to do to get this project actually into construction? And we've done that in this previous in this current administration. We did send a white paper all the way up to the Trump administration for clarification, justification, and changes to this existing system that we have. This was sent back in July, August of last year, requesting the Trump administration to change the current regulations and guidelines that are brought upon this nation when it comes to building roads. To my understanding, we have not got a response back. So that's where we are with this project here, with that $17 million. We want to improve it. We want to pave it. We want to improve the livelihood of all travelers and all community members there. And we do have a phase approach. We do have 7 phases of this project. Ultimately, if this project isn't funded with the additional $7.75 million, we have plans for the $17 million that we currently have. And unfortunately, some of those plans might be non-paving of some of those routes, that route in Black Mesa. So, in short, Honorable Delegate Chair Henyo, that's my response. Thank you.
Thank you for that response. Committee members, any further questions, comments on this legislation?
Chairman Henry, Delegate Cuddy. Yes, thank you, Chairman Henyo. I still feel that there's a bias happening here in terms of where roads are being constructed, and I understand that the progress of the project is kind of a tiered system on what's going to be completely built, but there's a fundamental flaw, because if we get our road projects in our district or in our agency to that level, then there's no way that we can go after funding and have it ready to have our own roads be treated in a similar manner. So I want to ask Mr. Silversmith, on your listing right now, I'd like, and doing my math here from the last legislation, this district is receiving $19.5 million for a particular road. Now this one is $7.75 million for a particular road. And so what we're at right now is approximately $27 million for this one district. So I'm going to ask you and NDOT, I would like, while we have this conversation, $27 million worth of road projects for the district that I represent. And I'd also like to see the $27 million worth of projects for my colleagues who are on this committee. And I'd like to see the listing then also for $27 million worth of road projects for other delegates who are in the Northern Agency. And that's my request, Chair, because I think there's a blatant discrimination that is happening when it comes to road projects. And being a delegate that's not only representing my district, but on this committee, Northern Agency, I think at this point is the only way that I can move forward is to see approximately $27 million worth of road projects to be considered. Thank you, sir. If I could get the agent to provide me that information so that I can start working on an amendment for this legislation. Thank you.
Chair Henyo.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that question. So with that, Director Silversmith, you have a request, and maybe provide a response to that of how long it would take or what it would take for you to fulfill that request.
Thank you again, Honorable Delegate Chair Henyo. Can you hear me?
Yes, Ken.
Okay. Thank you, sir. So, honorable members of the Budget Finance Committee, Honorable Delegate Crotty, I'll respond to her comments and questions. So, with all due respect, with respectfulness here, I'll respond to that. And here's our answer. There is no biasness happening in the selection of these projects here. Every project that advances to a level here in our established process here is the consensus of all leadership here at Navajo DOT. Ultimately, the answer and approval comes from myself as a division director. But I fall back on our supporting documents, the project readiness, and that advances up through a series of approval steps here within our division. I get the majority consensus from all our managers and supervisors, and I rely stringently on their opinions, suggestions, and recommendations for a project. It's a combination of 5 departments here that we comprise those lists. It's not just me, myself, making those decisions and doing all that work. It's a summation of each of these departments working together and advancing a project. We start with, say, a series of projects, and we only have a limited amount of funding. So I rely back on these 5 departments to get it ultimately up to that budget where that project will meet. And yes, all of these projects won't get funded. But my point is that these projects all have a consensus from managers and supervisors besides myself. I do not make that sole decision on a project. I approve it, yes, but ultimately everybody's involved in that decision-making process here. And it starts at the community level here. Every year during the summer, we visit each of the community members and we get feedback from them on their priorities, on their projects. When we decide on how we're going to spend $55 million, it's a departmental task and responsibility that does that. So that's my reply to that one question, a two-part question. So my second response is that the 19.5, the 17.75, and additional other $1 million that's in the forthcoming legislation, it amounts to 28-something million dollars. And these were all the result of Delegate Yellowhair, his efforts, his LDA, and his community members. We did not approach Delegate Yellowhair and say, Delegate Yellowhair, let's do this, let's do that. He confronted us and he approached us and said, with the amount of funding that I have, what can we do with that? So we provided him a concise, strategic approach to what we can do with his additional funding. So we devised a plan and said, this is what you can do with each of these three areas, with each of these three projects, with these three additional separate funding. Well, the community members said, well, we want to go beyond that. We want to pave it. We want to pave this one, all these three routes. What is it going to take to pave all those three routes? And that number came up to $29 million. And that's what we provided them. This is what you'll need if that's what you want to do. Other than that, we're going to stick with this original funding that we have. So Delegate Yellowhair and his partnerships and his community members, they're the ones that progress these three legislations up to this point where it is. We did not, just favorably view him and said, we're going to do this for you for $29 million. No. But going back to your third question here, yes, we can come up with $27 million projects for each of the 23 remaining regions. Yes, we can do that. And we can do that, and we can provide that to leadership at the discretion of BNF. Thank you, Chair Henyo.
Henyo, this is Delegate Yellowhair. Not right there. Come on. Chicken, you want salad?
I know. Chair Henyo or Vice Chair, are you on the call? We lost Henyo again. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Hello, can somebody hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, all right. There's something going on here, but with that, committee members, any further questions or comments?
Chairman Henyo, this is Delegate Cardi.
Katrina Shinanda, go ahead with your question. You have the floor.
Yes, thank you. So I'll look for that $27 million for my district, for the committee and the agency because what I don't see is how there has been any attempt to try to pull in and provide resources beyond just district. And I think the delegate who sponsors legislation, that could be a way to garner support. But also for the Department of Transportation, I listened to the whole conversation at a Resource and Development, And what my frustration is, from that point to this committee, there was no movement to try to provide additional resources to other delegates. It was really not till at the very end. And so that's my concern, committee members, that Department of Transportation at this point is not really assisting other delegates on how to maximize funding for their roads. We have a lot on our but we depend on the department to help and provide that information. And so I did not hear an answer regarding additional funding that this district receives. It's my understanding, I think I heard something about Peabody. I think there's an annual funding that's provided, because I did mention like gravel pit. I don't have all of the answers to that, but I did not hear additional information on how this region gets additional dollars. I'm not sure if it's to maintain the road, so I'd like that clarification. And then my third part of this is a term planner. So we do have a Northern Agency planner with the Department of Transportation. At one point, they were covering Eastern. And so I'd like to know if that is still the issue, because we've tried to, I think there was a few calls that were scheduled for NDOT that wasn't as successful. But I'd like to know then if Northern and Eastern are still sharing a planner. And I have a few other questions. Thank you, sir.
Thank you for that. So that was a series of questions, Vicky, and I hope Director Silversmith is noting it down, because back to Director Silversmith for a response.
I'd like to respond to Delegate Yellowhair.
Okay, after Director Silversmith, then I'll give you the floor. Director Silversmith, are you still there? Okay, go ahead.
Yes, sir. I'm still here. Thank you once again, Honorable Delegate Chair Henyo. So the additional follow-up to the Honorable Delegate Crowdy's question is, yes, we have. So for Northern Agency, Mr. Larry Ujo is the primary senior planner for that area. And there's a vacancy over in the Eastern Agency as far as that same position, senior planner. And that position has been vacant for about a year now, over a year now. So that position has been in the vacancy announcement for since the other person left, resigned for that position. So we tried unsuccessfully to fill that position. There may have been some interest in that position, but when Department of Personnel Management assesses those applicants who are interested in that position, some of them become non-favorable or non-qualified. So that's just prevalent in this area. There's not a lot of interest to fill that position. And they may not be, like I said, they may not be qualified. So that's in response to that question. And then also, as far as what additionally is the Navajo Division of Transportation doing for Honorable Delegates Crowdy's area is that, like I mentioned, the forthcoming 2020 and 2021 FET Road Fund Management Plan listing. Like I mentioned previously, there's $17.9 million tentatively slated for overall for 5 agencies. However, that still needs RDC's approval. Again, like I mentioned, there's $3.2 million that's going to be equally distributed among 5 agencies. And again, with $3.2 million, that's not nearly enough to cover respective regions for all 24 delegates. So going back to Delegate Crowdy's N19 right-of-way fencing, 2 Gray Hills chapter is going to be receiving tentatively, subject to RDC approval, $705,000. 2 Gray Hills is going to be receiving funds. Tip Rock chapter Newcomb, Red Mesa, Annis, and Sanasti, all for $3.2 million. Of course, there's other chapters that are within that agency that are not going to be funded. Over 10, close to 15 chapters, well over 15 chapters. So some chapters, like I said, get funded and others don't. It's just the way the process is here. So that's my response to what else we're doing in Delegate Amber-Crotty's region there. So thank you, Chair Henyo.
Appreciate it. Thank you for that. Delegate Yellow Hair, you had a response?
Oh, Ashat Nana, so, Sanatani, my colleague, thank you very much for bringing this legislation before you. I've done my job. I never waste my time. What into this somebody trying to do the legislation say, hey, what about me? What about me? That's not my position. I don't do that. I respect whoever had legislation. Things I work out everybody. What they the position of son. I even they're not nothing there. The name is like 8031 that wrote for school too. When the bad weather, they go around to Tinley, to Canado, back to Opinion. That's about another 18 miles when they drive these students around for athletic or other school going on. I don't touch nothing. I didn't bring this to your attention. When it rains, they usually stop the school almost a week because of, like I said, the elevation is higher than Tinley. We get more snow. But that's not the Chico with the when you go to Shipwreck's Way, on the drive, when you drive that way, our port, but to look at the mountain, it's really big snow. So my place is very sad that weather when it comes rain or snow. Hopefully my younger brother, Mr. Albert, understands this. York was not in the sheet, and even she I never thought that you guys going to put me down. You guys all on. Any project comes before us, we should approve it for people instead says, why not me? Why not me? That's not level stuff. Be resilient. Have some faith. I have hope to get this work done. Do my best as I can. You know, when you go to Washington, D.C., they said, these money are not been spent on set study teller. So I don't want to lose money. Let's just say 22.3 million. That's a lot of money. So I'm asking for 19.5. And then this is for the school too, Black Mesa, another high elevation. You said they stars. Yeah, with the stars out there. So at this point, we need money for $7,760,000. The road is dangerous up there. On the other side, they're trying to put the bridge up. Right now, that road is really like V-shaped, and you go across now. So they put another road on the side. It's kind of temporary. So that's going to be washed away. It's really sandy. So it's under DOT operation. It's not punishment. ICA. I need your flesh. And don't put your stuff down on your project. I believe you can do your project, do like I did. I really commend Mr. Darryl Smith and also Darryl Bradley and Beth Blackforce. So the staff are on there and have faith with them and visit them every now and then because I do my job and even she's the owner said what I get on this in the body. We talk about federal funding. Now I'm just thinking this weekend too. I think there's 65 million comes every year. Maybe they have the answer.
This call may be recorded or transcribed.
In PLG, which I would have to check for start nature, because it is only not seeing a community. But I hope you approve this rule. I want to take advantage and take care of this rule for the people. Actually, now it's called audition nature. It's a new course. I'm not there. So nothing on the people. So sad. Nobody can hide what how you feel about Black Mesa community up there. On the mosquito mission. Chad, no, I think we keep Michigan. Go back on. Thank you very much for going from that. Happy New Year.
So I'll get Elmer see the gate.
Actually, it's a bit Chair Henio, and I don't know members of the BNF. I don't Mr. Silver Support. I think committee members indicate my Chichilado, around the Chicago Smith, around the Shinado, over here, around Chichilado, Mr. Brown, around Stagedo, Cardi. I think we're getting to this point where, as a delegate, and as a BNF committee, where we oversee funds for the Navajo Foundation, and we try to think about equally to how we can the money that's being given or imposed Navajo Nation, will oversee that. I think we try to disseminate or to help the whole reservation up on CKC. But it's getting to this point where, the individual chapters, we're getting to do that. I don't know that area we're talking about funds. Where this, I think we're getting to the point where, that we're starting to think that way. I think because when we get to that leadership, I think we're getting to that point. So I think as a committee, although I support my citations, and he should all about this funding, no matter where it came from. See, the thing is this the earth we have, the home that we say is our home. We're all entitled to that. It don't matter. I don't see
the point of order, please. On this legislation, point of order. Yes. Now, part of order is he just spoke to me personally. That's my point of order. Thank you.
Okay, committee members, I think we need to stop naming each other. Just stick to the legislation, 314-20. Don't even let's move forward with this. And the nomination, during the votes. And so, I seen the detained at the beginning, but they starting to get serious between the two of you. So I'm going to tell both of you guys to stop it. Delegate Elmer Begay and Delegate Jimmy Yellowhair. We're on Facebook Live too also. So I've been we can't be doing this as leaders. So let's move forward. Finish your comment or question. Delegate Elmer Begay.
Yeah, I guess I'm making a point to where I'm using a Title I within that Title I is the fundamental law. If it has on it, that's what I'm referring to. If you understand it, it is in the state, so there's in the so I'm making that point. I think we can get to that point to where to make clarification that the I'm making that point to that fundamental law. We stood for it, we were using that. My saying that how can we use this fund for equally? So I would say that my point is saying that is to all the EMF members to overseeing these fundings. We need for these people, the people that are out in our constituents. I think my sister, I support that. I think to get to Mr. Silversmith, his division, his department, to provide the whole $28 million worth of projects that's been that can be shared with the delegates. I think that will be very fair to do that. But we have projects that are out there. We've been asking for that. I need that. This is not only the road for the M15 that I'm talking about. It's for the whole people that travels together. It is that road. It's been 8 years. It's not. He's talking about this is already a road, and then a road that was already cleared. It has already been gravelled. It's already been paved road, and I don't know how we could get to that. Making another art clearance again. So what even now, so if we can do this, we'd like to have schedules too. And just like right now, understanding that in 15, we're going to be doing some orological clearance. What's the schedule? Anticipating when do you think it's going to be, our clearance is going to be ready? So that's the one that we want those kind of plans, and we want to see that before we could maybe see that at night. We should request that maybe my sister can make that motion to if we can include that into that amendment, saying that that we want this before we could move on. We want to see the $28 million project for each delegate before we move. We're doing action with this legislation. I think it's going to be fair. So that was my point. So I don't know if I'm making it clear, but I would suggest that, and I would need guidance to do that if we can go that route.
Appreciation of that for those comments. I'm making the request again. Before I go, I do have a Shinantha delegate, Nathaniel Brown, wishing to make a comment also. Yate, hoodie ice.
Okay. I'm not sure when it doesn't say if I've been muted or I'm muted. But I still had Craig Shinantha, Mr. Yellow here. Craig. Excuse me, legislation given Shenzhen on me, at Bonnie's respect the husband. Allah Eben just Michelle. Allah Eben just Michelle. Other quick response on the just people pay just bow actually we wait for emotion. Other her last second either missions and so on it called me. the only day all of us we go through that. And but based on the only planning, we have every right to make amendments. That kind of saying my community logically not yours. So I think with that mentality, they can إذا عجب بين الشرطة هذا مين يتخان إذا إن كده ديك عجب بين الشرطة أكودي كلينيكي إياه أيو كأجي صار أيو بس هنيت بيشي أو هجو دولة هذا شيء زنيجي إياه نيت كلينيكي شبيدو يخمسون. So I do support additional amendments. No, I do support the community members there, but every legislation, a lot of legislation, other people in the kind of younger Ben Dash, she had in Dutch and Dash for Mr. Silversmith and the team. And I know that my Danahoso loop is on there, and that has been taking its time. I know it's a process with ARC and then historic preservation, etc. So the team on the middle been on this. So and I should but the way this is going, I always know. And I would like to share. Maybe we can I would like to make a recommendation. Well, first of all, let me just based on that, one recommendation would be to send this back to a work session and see how we can work on this. So on this became the with council. If not, if that's not agreed to, then I just simply have to withdraw my second and leave it at that also. So I've been working on a lot of projects. So that's where that's at. I'm looking at the quality in this, the equity. It needs to join us. Should be aiming to ship. We should be never based on So I feel you. I know that the road should go out with SDV. And people do call me, especially that Peabody is gone now. The roads are not being maintained by them a lot of areas that they used to. So I do get those phone calls. A-bonds is case. So with that, I'll withdraw my second on this legislation. Chair.
Delegate Nathaniel Bell is formally withdrawing his second on this legislation. So that to committee, we have a motion on 314-20. Committee members, is there a second on this motion?
Chair Henry, a question of privilege. Vice Chair.
Question of privilege, Vice Chair Smith, go ahead.
This will go to the Legislative Council. That motion area, the second area, the second area, for Hashi do Chitnia area has others after or Nazi actually the now we're not the final committee. I guess I could say this. What I'm trying to say is what the State Council is. There was a motion and the second withdrew. And if nobody does a second on this, then it just goes forward because of we're not the final authority. That's my question of privilege. Yeah.
Okay. With that, Vice Chair Smith and to Kristen, question is that second has been withdrawn. So now we're back to just a motion. And I'm asking the committee for a second. And if there is no second, Vice Chair, the concern is that what happens to this legislation? Does this come back at the next committee meeting, or does it still continue to move forward, even though there was no official action taken on this legislation? Kristen?
Chair, this is Kristen. Currently, at this time, there is a practice that delegates will withdraw a second or a motion in order to end the discussion and to avoid a legislation going to a vote. So if that does happen, it does not go forward to Nabakeetia Committee on Thursday. Chair.
Okay, so that question of privilege, Vice Chair Smith, does that answer your question of privilege?
Question Don, did I understand? If there's no second, this stays with the committee? Is that what I understand?
Yes, according to Kristen, it doesn't go forward.
Question of privilege. This is Delegate Yellowhair.
Hold on, the Delegate Yellowhair. Vice Chair Smith, just answer your question of privilege.
Okay, yes, it does.
Okay, I appreciate that. So this, Delegate Jimmy Yellowhair, what's your question of privilege?
Okay, question of privilege is who made a motion first? That's my number one question. Number two, a year ago, there was one that pertains to court, and there was no one motion at Law and Order Committee, and then this happened and went through to ENA Committee or Nabakeetia Committee, and even though there was no party motion, but the legislation still went through. So I kind of disagree with our attorney, and this happened. It was happened for me. One of the legislation it went through like that. So our legislation is continue. They're not supposed to die. They're supposed to continue. So the next committee, anyway, here this is what happened on my legislation. We're a little bit kind of confused. That's what my question of privilege. And who made the motion? I was talking it.
Okay, so Delegate Yellowhair, when this legislation was written to the record, Noah asked for a motion, and there was nobody that spoke up. I asked for it again, and nobody spoke up. This one hasn't asked again. That's when you're the one that's holding the motion.
Yeah,
I did. So I go from there. I started asking for a second again, and there was nobody speaking. Finally, at the end, there was down a second out of that come when we began discussion. So, the second has been withdrawn, so we're back to just a motion. And so that's why I was asking for a second. But so, is your question of privilege the same as the Vice Chair Smith? What happens to this legislation? I was trying to get your question.
Are you talking to me?
No.
Okay, y'all here.
So, what was your second question?
That was my second question, that because one of my legislation was never voted amendment or motion. That didn't happen.
Chair, this is Kristen.
Kristen, go ahead. You can help us out here.
Thank you. I've been overruled by the Chief Legislative Counsel, who's informed me that apparently at another committee, when a motion is withdrawn or a second is withdrawn, that it has gone on to the subsequent committee, in this case, Navigatia Committee. So I am hoping that the Chief Legislative Counsel will issue written guidance so that we can all give the same advice on the same issue. Chair.
Okay, thank you. So back to the question from Vice Chair Smith. So if I call for a second, there's no second. We don't consider the legislation, but in a sense, you're saying it still goes to further to an update committee.
Chair, that is what I've been advised. Yes.
Okay, committee members, we've heard from our principal attorney with the Legislative Council, and therefore I'm asking the committee, is there a second to the motion?
I have a question of privilege, Chair. This is
Delegate Member, what's your privilege?
Thank you. If I could ask Legislative Council, if this committee, if there's a spec and then there's a referral back to RDC, does it move forward to NABI? Can you let me know what would be the process? I think the challenge here is that there needs to be more work done, and so I just need to know what that looks like. Thank you, Chair.
So back to you, Kristen, is that I think that's what my question was going to be, that Delegate Brown withdrew his motion. So with that question from Delegate Cardi is that if there is a referral from this committee back to RDC, if there is a second, what happens? Does it go back to RDC or does it still move forward?
Chair, this is Kristen. There is no motion for referral available until this legislation gets to NABI. The motion to refer is governed by Navajo Nation Council Rules of Order, and it's also governed by, hang on one sec, I have to find this. Okay, it's Title II, Section 164A9, and it provides that Navigatia Committee of the Navajo Nation Council can refer a resolution or memorial back to the appropriate standing committee. So it's either got to be done at council or at NABI to refer back to another committee. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for that advice. Right. So back to Delegate Member Quinones-Balcani. Does that satisfy your question of privilege?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, with that, back to the committee. Is there a second to this motion? We need to, if we keep asking questions, what's your question of privilege, Nanda?
I'd like to have someone to make a motion to continue. Thank you very much for that.
Understand. Thank you for that. Committee members, is there a second? Going once? You want? A second? Going twice? Committee members, is there a second? Going three times, committee members? Is there a second? And there's no second, so move forward. There was no second on legislation 314-20. For the record, that's a motion. So with that, we'll move forward to the next item on the agenda, which is item legislation 315-20. We do have our sponsor here. Shananta. Jimmy Yellowhair is available. So with that, Peggy, can you read it into the record for us?
I wonder if my catching this. Excuse me?
Peggy, if you would read the legislation to the record.
Yes. Legislation number 0315-20. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, somebody else is having a conversation. Okay, this is a proposed Navajo Council resolution. It went to Resources and Development Committee, then now Budget and Finance Committee, then to the EAT Committee, then to the Council. 24th Navajo Council, second year 2020. Introduced by Jimmy Yellowhair, prime sponsor, tracking number 0315-20. An action relating to Resources and Development, Budget and Finance, Navigated Committees, and Navajo Nation Council, allocating $1,424,705 in funds to the Navajo Division of Transportation for the N8065 Oribe Wash project, approving and adopting the N8065 Oribe Wash project expenditure plan pursuant to 12 NSC section 2501 through 2508. This has the exhibits as referenced in the legislation with chapter resolutions and a letter from the Legislative Council. The Internet Public Review has no comments. The second report has a comment from Amos F. Johnson. That's attached. And the Resources and Development Committee has a let's see. Hold on a second. My document keeps floating around here. Okay. So there is a Resources and Development Committee vote tally sheet, and then the committee report. It has a due pass with no amendment. Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you for that reading. Committee members, is there a motion on 315-20? No, committee members, is there a motion?
I'll motion Yellowhair.
Delegate Jimmy Yellowhair motion on legislation 315-20. Is there a second, committee members? Is there a second to this motion? Or one? Is there a second to this motion going twice? Is there a second to this motion going 3 times? There's a second. Therefore, we'll move forward to the legislation on the agenda. This is legislation 320-220, sponsored by Delegate Edison Wanika. Delegate Edison Wanika, are you here with us at Budget and Finance Committee meeting? Wanika?
Sure. There's a question of privilege from Bill here.
Hold on. I'm trying to establish. Delegate Edison Wanika, are you on the line? Tenita. For that, Delegate Yellowhair, question of privilege.
Oh yeah, I shared this. My colleague present from that committee. Ocho plato hitare ni to enakin to listen to Chicago. Not ocho plato itendere ya pas in the community party tini a non legislation Happy New Year. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, with that, let's, I don't think Delegate Edison Juanita is on the line with us. Delegate Edison Juanita, let's call. Okay, motion to adjourn. Vice Chair Smith. Vice Chair Smith. Is there a second?
Mr. Chair, can you hear me? This is Peggy.
Peggy, we have a motion to adjourn on the floor. Is there a second? Delegate Elmer P. Begay is a second on motion to adjourn. With that, Peggy, do you have a comment?
No, it's a question pertaining to legislation 0315. Just to make sure that I've got it right. This legislation goes on to NABI, even though it doesn't have a second, because you had said, and I don't know if I heard you right, but I thought you said that it would go on to the next committee meeting, and I figured it was BNF, or is it NABI that you're talking about?
No, when we were debating, asking question of privileges on these legislative council, Kristen Lowell received advice from legislative council that even though there's no second on this legislation, there's a motion, but there's no second, it still goes to the next committee, which would be NABI.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for that. With that, we have a motion to adjourn and a second by motion by Vice Chair Smith and second by Shenandoah Delegate Elmer P. Begay. Any questions or comment? If not, I'll call for the question and motion to adjourn. Shenandoah Delegate Jimmy Yellowhair. Go ahead.
I vote green. Thank you.
Shenandoah Delegate Jimmy Yellowhair votes green. Shenandoah Vice Chair Smith. Three. Vice Chair Smith votes green. Shenandoah Delegate Amber Canales Balcati.
Delegate Amber Canales Balcati votes green. Thank you.
Okay, Shenandoah Delegate Amber Canales Balcati votes green. Shenandoah Delegate Nathaniel.
Delegate Brown votes green. Yeah.
Delegate Nathaniel Brown votes green. Shenandoah Delegate Elmer P. Begay.
Vote green.
Okay, Shenandoah Delegate Elmer P. Begay votes green. We do have 5 in favor, 0 opposed. Motion to adjourn carries at 5:30 p.m. We are hereby adjourned. I cannot thank you, committee members, for all your input. Our very first meeting of the new year, and we look forward to working in 2021. Inshallah. And thank you, Peggy, and thank you, Ramona, and Kristen, and everybody that was on the line. Inshallah.
Thank you. See you. Happy New Year.
Dean So?
Here, we'll go ahead and have the committee.
This is a Dean So.
The vote tally sheet is
Joining the call.
Thank you.